that Shakur fight should have probably already happened by now because Haney just beat Lomachenko, and I'm actually in the camp that I think Loma probably edged that one out. I do think that like people were overreacting a little bit to that fight.
The best way to spend your weekend is betting on fighting on Saturday and betting on NFL football on Sunday.
That's facts, and Inside Fighting has partnered up with DraftKings, an official partner of the NFL, to get you closer to all the action. And right now, new customers who bet just $5 get $150 of bonus bets instantly just using the promo code Inside Fighting.
If sports betting is not yet available in your state, not to worry. You can still join in on all the fun with the DraftKings Daily Fantasy Sports.
So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. New customers use promo code Inside Fighting. Bet $5, get $150 of bonus bets instantly. That's promo code Inside Fighting.
How you doing, fight fans? It's me, Jesse Rowe, with Inside Fighting, joined as always by Timothy James, aka Timmy Shoes MMA on X. Timmy Shoes, thank you for joining me on this week's episode of Insider Betting. We have a couple of, we have a mixed bag of fights this weekend. We have a big boxing fight. We have a fairly decent UFC fight night. But let's start with the boxing because we have Devin Haney versus Regis Prograis. Obviously, Devin Haney had to vacate his belts in order to take this fight, which have been relinquished to Tank Davis of all people. But Haney's coming in here with a pretty big edge. He is a minus 400 favorite to Prograis, who's a plus 300 underdog. Timmy, what do you think of this fight and who you got?
I think this is Haney all the way. I think it's pretty obvious. I think maybe to recoup some of that value, you might want to put in Haney by decision instead of just Haney on the money line. But I view this as just another, annoying road step on the way to Shakur versus Haney, which is what we all want to see. Shakur Stevenson versus Devin Haney, which is a fight that Shakur just fought and he won, and now Haney's going to fight and then he's going to win, and then hopefully the boxing politics allows for that. But I'm Haney all the way.
Well, look, reason. I mean, Haney, that Shakur fight should have probably already happened by now because Haney just beat Lomachenko. And I'm actually in the camp that I think Loma probably edged that one out. I do think that like people were overreacting a little bit to that fight because Haney was hitting Loma with a lot of body shots that boxing fans that are just average viewers aren't noticing. I think Loma won, but I don't think it was as clear cut as everybody was making it out to be. So Shakur Stevenson actually walked into the ring after that fight. They faced off and everything. It was supposed to be a fight. So I think we already had that. Haney versus Tank is also the next one, but I agree. Haney is a favorite for a reason. This feels like it's I don't want to call Prograis a tune-up fight because Prograis is actually a very good fighter. But I just think Haney's on a higher level, and I agree. I think you go Haney by decision because it's a minus 240 by decision. Haney's not a knockout artist. He's a great footwork guy, very good defensive fighter. He outboxes you. He's a scientist. He's sort of like tapping you along the way. He's not a guy that's going to beat you up. He's just going to find openings, touch you up, and sort of dance around whatever offense you're throwing at him. Plus 700 for a KO. I mean, obviously it's very tempting. I don't personally see it happening. I do think it's enticing. I'm interested in it, but I agree. I think throwing in Haney at a minus 240 decision is a much more sound play than a minus 400. You're just not getting anything. You're just not getting anything there. So anything else you want to add to that, or I think we're in agreement?
I think we're in agreement.
Yeah.
Haney getting a knockout would send a message. That's what I'll say. So if he does get the knockout, I think that sends a message.
Yeah. So, and if you feel like gambling, I think Prograis by knockout is something crazy, like plus 1,000 or something. So if you feel like really gambling, but let's move on to the UFC fight night at the Apex, Song Yadong versus Chris Gutierrez. Let's start with the co-main event. We have Anthony Lionheart Smith versus Khalil Rountree, the knockout artist, Khalil Rountree, versus the submission artist, Anthony Smith. Roundtree coming in at a slight favorite. He is a minus 192, whereas Anthony Smith is a plus 160. It's an interesting fight. Anthony Smith is obviously coming off of a loss versus Johnny Walker, and that was his last fight, right?
Didn't he fight Magomed Ankalaev as well? And he blew out his ankle.
Hold on. I'm going to cut this part. Hold on. I want to find out really quick before, because I don't think so, because I think Johnny Walker just fought Ankalaev with the
no, he did, but before.
It was Ryan Spann. I'm sorry. He won by decision against Ryan Spann. Okay. Anthony Smith is coming off of a win versus Ryan Spann, who won by decision. Coming out, and then before that, it was a loss versus Johnny Walker, which was a decision. So Smith's kind of been a little bit of a mixed bag. There's been some talk about whether he's going to retire, because whether he's focusing more on the broadcast booth versus being in the octagon. Khalil Rountree has been just knocking guys into the shadow realm. He's obviously got incredible power, and it shows in the odds, obviously not just him being a favorite, but also with him being a minus 135 to get the knockout. Those aren't great odds to get a knockout. I mean, they're expecting him, if he touches Smith in this fight, that Smith is going down. So those are actually pretty bad odds when you consider he's only a minus 192 favorite. He's also only a minus 135 favorite to get a knockout. So what do you think? Who do you take? How are you betting this? What's your pick?
I like Roundtree for a few reasons. Anthony Lionheart Smith, I feel like he's at the tail end of his career. I don't like to be one of those guys who sort of tells fighters when they should retire. But I think there is something to the idea that he's focused more on the booth. He does the podcast with Michael Bisping. And I don't know, there's just been something his last couple fights where it feels like some of that spark is gone, some of that desire to fight. Like even in his win, there was a lot of points where he was just holding on to Spann a little bit. So I like Roundtree. He's been on the up and up. And I think Roundtree by knockout. And it's only minus 135, but I still like that pick.
Yeah, it's just crazy. Like, you don't see that very often, even when you're only a minus 192 favorite, but you're a minus 135 to get the knockout. It
crazy.
Seems that seems like those are basically the same odds. It's interesting. It's just an interesting line. And I sort of agree with your take on this. I think that there's a chance that Smith as a plus 700 plus 600 by submission is interesting, only because I could see a situation where he gets put down, he's on the ground, and then he finds that sort of Paul Craig thing where he's able to just put together like a leg lock of some kind, a triangle, something like that. I still think I'm taking Roundtree in this fight. And I agree with you about Smith going into the broadcast booth, because he seems like he's looking for some like extra motivation these days. I mean, in one of his last fights against Johnny Walker, he's literally in the octagon telling Johnny Walker, "You were attacking my family. You were going after my family." And it's like Johnny Walker's like, what are you talking about, bro? He needs that extra motivation.
Yeah.
It's like his he's obviously got great heart. I mean, we all remember when he got kneed on the ground against John Jones in the title fight. He probably could have taken the DQ win in that fight, getting kneed in the head. Yeah. He wasn't going to do it. He fought, like, he went out on his shield. He did not pull the Aljamain Sterling route. I like Anthony Smith. I think he's kind of getting a bad rap as his career winds up, but I don't think he's going to win this fight. I think Roundtree lands one. He's done. And I like Roundtree by knockout as well, putting it into a parlay, which we're going to get to. But let's finish up with the main event. We've got Song Yadong versus Chris Gutierrez. Song Yadong's a pretty sturdy favorite here. He's a minus 380 versus Gutierrez, who is a plus 300, which I thought was interesting because I do think Gutierrez is maybe better than the odds might indicate here. But yeah, I want to get your take on this because it seems like this is a terrible intro. It seems like Song at a minus 380, it makes sense just because of the quality of fighter he is. He's a young fighter. He's an up-and-comer. He's a potential contender. I don't know. I have some thoughts about Gutierrez at plus 300. I'm curious what you think.
I think the odds got this one right. I'm going Song all the way. I think Song at the knockout is even better. I think we have the odds on that. But yeah. I think Song is just, he's too quick and he's too powerful. And I think that's going to play into exactly the type of fight he wants against Gutierrez. And it's just hard for me to picture a way for Gutierrez to win. And I think that's why he's such an underdog.
So
Plus,
Song is a plus 120 to knock him out, to get a KO, TKO, or DQ, whereas decision is a plus 150. So, take what you want. Plus 900 for submission. I think that we all agree that's probably not happening in this fight. But Gutierrez at a plus 300. He's also a plus 900. He's a plus 900 to get the knockout. And it's hard for me to not look at that and take it seriously, only because he has great leg kicks. He obviously had a flying knee knockout of Frankie Edgar that sent Frankie Edgar into retirement. Song Yadong and Frankie Edgar are on two different sides of their careers, obviously. So I understand that. I think you have to take it seriously. I am going to take Song Yadong, but I'm tempted to take Gutierrez by knockout, just in a low risk, high reward value pick, just because it's interesting to me, because I do think Gutierrez is not a household name, but he is a guy that has weapons in his arsenal that could put anybody out. Great leg kicks. I mean, the guy, he's long. He's very long and rangy for the division, so he can hit you with a variety of angles, a variety of heights on his shots, and I think it's an interesting pick. Tell me why I'm wrong before I get to the parlay.
Hey, if you got $5 for a plus 900, why not?
Yeah,
why not?
But I am taking Song Yadong, and that leads us to the parlay, where we went through your picks, and Devin Haney by decision. He's not knocking out Regis Prograis, right?
No.
Okay, so by decision is a minus 240. That's what Vegas odds makers think too. Khalil Rountree by knockout is minus 135. Song Yadong to win by knockout is a plus 120. Put those together, it's a plus 442. It ain't bad. $10 gets you $54.
Nice.
It's not a bad. It's a very level-headed parlay, but we don't live in a level-headed world. So I'm going to add if you feel like gambling a little bit on a parlay and you want to have a little bit of fun with this one, you think Gutierrez can pull up the upset, you do the same picks. You do Haney by decision, you do Rountree by knockout, but you throw in Gutierrez by knockout at a plus 900. You get a plus 2366. So that's $10, gets you about, I didn't even do the math on that. Let me do it really quick. $10 plays $46.
It'll get you nothing probably, because I don't think that one. But
hey, it's MMA, man. One of these has to play out. We're not going to be right on all.
That's true.
So if that's the one you think is going to happen, might as well bet on it.